11.1. Enjoying reading.
We talked to 4 people about reading. First, here's Christine. What kind of books do you read?
I love detective fiction, I have to say. And I think that to me detective fiction has been a respite. It's been a treat from serious grown-up reading. I learned to love books as a very little girl with my dad, who took me to the library twice a week. And I learned a great respect for plot and for storytelling. And just love the cliffhanger story, and still love it. Because I can get quite lost in one of those, and I'm a very fast reader. And my desire to work out who did it and what happened next is so great that it overpowers everything else, and I will disappear into a book for hours and not speak to a soul. But to get that from my father, who is exactly the same. My mum has never been a great reader, and my dad and I drive her mad, because we will sit for hours contentedly reading when we're together, and she thinks this is awfully boring and unsociable. But my dad is never not reading, and that's where I got it from.
Jonathan, what kind of books do you enjoy reading?
Well, I always enjoy reading cookbooks. I'm quite a keen cook, so I get new ideas for recipes and things, but I just enjoy reading them as almost as fiction.
Mm-hmm. And when do you read them?
I will read them... they're not books I tend to read at bedtime. They're more daytime books. If I have a few minutes to kill, I'll pull one off the shelf and have a browse.
Mm-hmm. And what's your favourite book?
Well, my favourite cookbook would probably be Jane Grigson's vegetable book. She's a fantastic food writer anyway, and I'm not a vegetarian. I love meat, but her vegetable book is fascinating because she covers each major vegetable in turn, gives you a bit of historical background, and then all sorts of recipes involving the vegetable and other ingredients as well. And it has a sense of history about it that I find very appealing.
Mm-hmm. And why do you enjoy reading?
Well, I enjoy reading cookbooks, I think, largely because even if you're not cooking the recipes you're reading, it conjures up a sense of other places, other flavours, other times in your life when you might have eaten something similar, and the promise of happy times in the future if you do cook this food for somebody else.
Karen, how about you? What do you enjoy about reading?
The immediate thing about a book is it takes you into a different world. You can immediately find yourself introduced to a whole set of behaviour or ideas that you wouldn't easily come across in your own life. You can just shut the door and that's it. I mean, I think it's much more pleasurable than television, although I'm interested in television and film as well. But obviously you can take it at your own pace and you can read again and you can savor certain passages. And I think it's just the getting into one person's head and sort of seeing how they see things. And just having, also, as I said before about readability, being caught up in a good story. I mean, you're lost for a few hours, aren't you? You're in a different world for a few hours. And also just the tactile pleasure of holding a book, of a book as an object. I mean, I like books as objects. I can never throw them away, ever. I could never give even a scrappy old paperback, I could never give it to a jumble sale.
What kind of books do you enjoy reading, William?
I enjoy the classics and novels that are set in a different period of history. I particularly like reading about periods of history I don't know anything about.
And when do you read?
Well, I'm a compulsive reader, so whenever I get the opportunity, really, whether it's on a journey or when I'm at home with nothing to do, if I'm on holiday. But any opportunity I get, really, I'll be into a book.
And what's your favourite book?
Well, a book I've enjoyed recently was Perfume by Patrick Süskind. Again, a book set in a different period of history. But this book in particular is fantastic because it is all about somebody who notices the smells of things much more than we would, and can actually tell what has happened in different areas of town by the smells that he can pick up there, even things that have happened a long time beforehand. So it's a book that's written but has a great sort of sensual feel to it.
Mm-hmm. And what is it about reading that you enjoy?
I think it's just that being able to transport yourself somewhere else for whatever period you're reading for. I think it's a great medium for creating something that you don't know anything about, and I'd actually rather read a book than watch a movie. I find it much easier to escape somewhere else. When I don't have somebody's pictures showing me what it looks like, I can imagine it, a certain amount of it myself, and just enjoy the reading.
Mm-hmm. Thank Thank you. Finally, Christine again. Why do you enjoy reading?
It's another world. It's going into a world that somebody makes convincing, where there are characters in that world about whom you have a concern and you want to know what happens to them. And it matters to know what is going to unfold and what happens next. And it's about expanding your picture of the world. It's taking you into bits of people's experience that you haven't got for yourself. But the best book is one where you find the environment and the situation and the conflict, if there is one, because most literature involves some kind of conflict. The resolution of that conflict or whatever, you just desperately want to know what it is. And it's that commitment to the creation the author has made that keeps you reading absolutely desperately to the last page. You know, and it's about magic as well. It's about being taken into a world that just transports you and you forget the here and now. You know, I could quite forget to feed the pussies if they didn't jump on my head if I were really engrossed in a book. And I regret the fact that I seem to have so little time to read these days. One of my resolutions every year is to make more time to do it, and one of these days I will. Because I love reading.